Olabode is a software engineer with a deep passion for open source software and technology. Um, a discovery that has profoundly shaped his career. He's a maintainer at Systematic Release, a fully automated version management and a software release tool. He contributes to improving the developer and contributor experience across the open source ecosystem. That's really nice. Hi, Olabode. Welcome. I hope I'm pronouncing your name well. Thank you so much for accepting to be speaker for Tech Career Discovery Program. Week two, day one, the stage is yours. You can come on and take it away. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Can you hear me clearly? Like, am I audible? I need to be sure of that.
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you, Claire, and we
Okay,
can hear you loud and clear.
thank you.
You're
So I
welcome.
noticed something in the paper. I just want to quickly correct that. It's my name is Lawal-Shittabey. Lawal-Shittabey. You actually have like a free horn under my picture, but that's totally fine. I just want
Wait,
to.
say that again.
I said in the.
Oh,
Oh yes, and it
did
says I'm a
I?
machine
Did
engineer.
I?
I don't have all that strength. I don't have all that power. Come on, that's not me. But it's
Oh
cool.
my God. I'm so sorry. That will tell you that I am overstimulated at this point. Can you tell that I'm stressed? Can you
Yeah,
tell? I'm so
it's totally,
sorry.
it's
Oh my
totally fine.
God, I didn't.
Yeah,
Sorry. I'll
no,
apologize.
it's cool. So, thank you very, very much for having me. My name is Olabode. I'm a software engineer and open source maintainer. Yes, very well. I've got a slide, and I'm just gonna go and share my screen and try to pull that up in a sec. Just give me one moment. Okay, thank you very much for having me. So, hello everyone. My name is Olabode Lawal-Shittabey. I'm super excited to be here. I'm a software engineer and I'm an open source maintainer. And I don't really like to talk much about myself because in the end, it's not exactly important because I'm here today for you guys and you guys alone. So I'm super excited today to talk about software engineering and how it's, like mixes with open source. And I'm excited to share practical and honest introduction to a career in software engineering and open source with you guys today. So I have so I have like just a few goals today, just three of them. Three goals. The first is I want to help you understand what this career really looks like. Second is I want to help you see what is possible. And most importantly, I want to help you learn how to get started without exactly feeling overwhelmed. Now, in order for me to help you get on the way, I want to begin by telling you a quick story. This is a story that shows what software engineering actually looks like in the real world in such a way that it's, like relatable to you. So I want to tell you a story about an organization. Let's just call them NCS, right? This is a company that offers training programs, physical training programs. They just throw out registrations for participants to register across the country, and they all fly in for the training program. And as soon as they're done, they get issued certificates. Physical certificate, definitely. This is a certain certificate. This is a document that proves, like authenticity because there's a really serious stamp on the document. But sometime in 2020, all of us, we know what happened in 2020. This was during COVID. The whole world was on shutdown. And just a little bit of time after the lockdown, when the whole world, like got back to work, there was this idea of like, you can't exactly get a lot of people in a room, social distancing and all sort of things like that. So that in itself forced the organization to start delivering the programs. They shifted away from delivering the training programs from physical trainings to, like doing it virtually online, right? So at this point in 2020 or from 2020, let's say, they have now moved totally to, like delivering the training virtually online. One thing is important after every participant attend their trainings, they should get issued their certificate. Now, at this point, The trainings are online. Participants need the certificate. In order for the organization to get the certificates passed down to the participants, they had to use delivery, like they had to deliver physical certificates to participants across the country. I'm talking people from Abuja, to some certain extent, even people from outside of Nigeria. I'm talking Cotonou, Kenya, people who fly in. They now have to start delivering these certificates to them. This sounded like it's something they needed to do definitely because they owe it to the participants, right? But at this point, some participants receive their certificate, while some they don't even get theirs, right? And after a little bit of time, complaints and all sorts, maybe some actually also like end up getting theirs, and that would have been after a very long wait, right? So all of this became a quick problem, right? Emails started blowing up. Uh, some participant doesn't need, they even look as though they don't even need the certificate because they're not even exactly reporting until maybe some time later when they just feel like, yo, I did a training at a certain place. I haven't even received my certificate. Then they start to, like really pile up. This became like a whole lot of problem, right? But sometime down the line, the team had a certain meeting, right? And a software engineer in their team during that meeting asked a question. Since every other thing is going online, we're doing our training virtually and all sorts, why are we still issuing physical certificates, right? So the software engineering person came up with a solution. And the solution is, yo, why don't we just issue digital certificates? These certificates are going to be in PDF format. Participants can just download it. You can send it to them by email or anything. And they can also print this certificate as many times as they want. But as they came up with that solution, they faced a certain problem that also challenged their thoughts. And the problem is, how do we verify the authenticity of this certificate? How do we make sure that people who are going to be using this certificate, consuming it, or printing it, how are we going to be sure that people are not just going to forge this certificate and go use in different places? This was some of the things that they considered. And all of these things together brought about a solution that they implemented. So they ended up settling for a system that they built that issues digital certificates with a unique certificate verification ID that is placed on that certificate and a certain part on their company website that has a page that has a form field where you just like basically go there, enter that certificate ID, and then verify whether a certificate that anybody is using at any certain place is either fake or original. This made a lot of sense. This even like pushed the company beyond boundary. At this point, the participants now started to like really showcase those certificates as it is on their LinkedIn profile. Because in the LinkedIn profile part, there's a certain part on there that shows like a credential ID. So they started to use this certificate verification ID on that certain part. This, as it is like this, turned into some other kind of recoil that brought even more visitors to the company's website to like come and get even more training programs, right? So this was during COVID. And I tell you that in just a short time, that organization moved from handling or messing, thinking about lost deliveries, endless complaints from people who didn't get their certificates, the thoughts of even expensive logistics, like ship out this certificate to different part of the world. They moved away from all of that to instantly being able to deliver reliable digital certificates that can be delivered via email, for example, like I said, and completely verifiable from any damn where. This feels like a simple story, right? But this captures the heart of software engineering, which is finding problems, imagining better ways to solve those problems, and building solutions that makes life easy for people. So I tell you, that's our Stardew. That is what software engineering. That's what software engineers actually do. We identify problems, we imagine and design better solutions, and bring those solutions to life with the use of technology, right? So let's just get started. I just said that to like just stimulates, give you a sense of what software engineering feels like in the real world, right? So what exactly is software engineering? I'm going to put this very simple. Software engineering is problem solving. It's the ability to, like turn real world challenges into workable solutions. Software engineering is systemic thinking. It's imagining, or let's say seeing how different part of the system connects to form a whole system. Seeing how a whole system, how different parts of it connect to form a whole system, or call it like a workable solution, right? Software engineering is collaboration. It's building solutions together. It's not working in isolation. Software engineering is building things for real people to use, creating practical solutions that impact everyday life. Software engineering is continuous learning. It's growing your skill non-stop uh, uh, as the industry itself evolves, because the industry doesn't exactly stay in a certain place. Just continue learning, growing your skill non-stop as the industry just evolves, right? So if this definition in plain English of what software engineering is, if it sounds any exciting to you, if it makes you, if it makes something inside you light up, then trust me, you already have the mind of a software engineer, right? So what does a software engineer do? That's the next thing I think I want to actually get your mind onto. The thing that software engineers do is everywhere. It's everywhere for us to see. It's in fact something that can be seen in our everyday life. Some are even so vital that we almost can't do without them. From communication made easy with WhatsApp, connecting with your old friends via Facebook, making remote work and connection possible with Google Meet and Zoom. Heck, you are currently attending this session as it is from the comfort of your home on Zoom, aren't we? You get entertainment on Netflix, you get an education on YouTube, down to finding even the love of your life, maybe halfway across the world, somewhere on Tinder. From that Uber taxi ride that you do, your payments you do with OPay, your travel plannings and bookings that you do with Waka Now, your shopping on Jumia, that delivery that you do on Gokada, the food that you order on Child Deck whenever you're hungry. Abi, they use ChatGPT. This is just a tiny bit, teeny tiny bit that I can mention of the solutions authored, I mean, should I just say created by software engineers to tackle problems across different walks of life, right? So I'll confirm again. If this is kind of solution building gives you a spark, if it gives you that excitement, then you are on the right path. So the next step right now is understanding what actually matters in this field, the skills that makes a person effective as a software engineer. And the good part is these skills aren't being, they're not about being a genius or knowing everything. They're actually just learnable. They are they are practical. You can start developing them from wherever you are, right? So the first of them skills is problem solving, because everything starts here. A software engineer looks at a messy situation and tries to understand what exactly the problem is. What's the best solution? How can I break these things into steps that are manageable, that are understandable, that I can, like really fix? How can I fix this problem with the use of technology? That's where it all starts. So if you're the kind of person that enjoys making sense of chaos, this field will really come supernatural to you. Now, another skill that you need is systemic thinking. This simply means seeing the bigger picture of a certain problem and how you want to fix it, understanding how different part of a system connects to, make something make sense. In connected system, a small change in this place can affect something over there, and a tiny bit of movement over there can actually impact something here. So software engineers don't just fix symptoms. They understand the whole system. They know the entire running of every part of the system. This is what makes you a software engineer. Another skill that you need is teamwork. Software engineering is a team sport. You are going to work with designers, you're going to work with other engineers, either with the ones in your field or even engineers that are not exactly software engineers, maybe engineers that are hardware engineers, but you're trying to build a certain software that works on their hardwares. You're going to work with these people, right? You're going to work with product people, like product designers and the likes. I'm pretty certain sometime last week there was a certain product session here, right? So you're going to work with, in fact, people in different time zones sometime, right? And in this teamwork, and one of the things you also have to have is, like good communication skill, which is all part of the things that make you a good team worker. Because being able to communicate clearly and work with others is a superpower. I tell you this for free, right? So another skill that you need is building real and useful products. I mean, at the end of the day, the job is to build things that people actually use, not just write fancy code, right? A good engineer actually cares about the user. That way, you have the ability to, adopt simplicity as you approach problem solving. Software engineers, another skill that matters is continuous learning. You've got to always learn and learn and learn. I heard Ifion say something about you continue learning. Benga also said the same thing. Those are the two speakers before now. Because you see, this space that we are in, it changes so fast. And that is totally okay. We like it that way. And the truth again is you don't exactly have to know everything. You just need the mindset of someone who is willing to keep learning. And that is what really keeps you sharp and relevant as the space moves and takes all of the turn that it needs to take. So these that you see are the skills that matters, and they do so much that if you can develop even a few of them, you're already building a foundation to becoming a great software engineer. I tell you that for free. Now that we've talked about that, now that you understand the core skill behind software engineering, I want us to zoom out a bit and talk about the paths in software engineering. The amazing thing about this field is that it's not just a one path field, it's a whole landscape. And depending on your interests, your personality, the kind of problems that you like solving, you can absolutely choose a certain or any direction or directions that truly fits you. So one of the parts that I'm only going to mention a few because there's like a whole lot, there's gazillions of it, right? So I'm going to start by telling you about front-end engineering. I like how it is that the last speaker, which is Benga, that spoke before myself, actually talked something about front-end. And he made mention, and I'll also go on and say again, that this is the visual side. This is the front-facing part of a software that all users that use a software, this is the part that they see and interact with. So if you are a kind of person that enjoys design, visuals, user experience, or you like making things look and feel polished, then this front end might just be for you. And like he said, he likes design and visuals and he likes user experience. That's the reason why he's doing front end. And that is just how it is. Look for the part that fits you and just get in. So another part I'm going to talk about is backend engineering. He also mentioned backend. And backend, like he said, is like the behind the scene. It's like the place that the people who uses the app never sees. But some smart ones among them actually imagine, right? Because the backend is everything behind the scenes. It's where the logic lives. It's where you make sense of, like calling APIs and stuff that actually facilitates the thing that lets your users enjoy your service. This means like you can actually consume even external services in order for you to facilitate what your service is to render, what you actually render in service to your users. This is where your database lives. You submit any information from the front end, it goes and gets stored somewhere, right? If you're using the app, this is where the security aspect of everything is managed because the backend is a certain layer that gives you access to all the logics and everything that builds the system. And it is in fact a must that that kind of system, that kind of part is secured, right? So if you like reasoning about how things work, if you like the feel of how data flows and how systems talks to each other, then definitely the backend is your zone. Another path that I'm going to talk about is mobile engineering. So mobile engineering, this is just like, building apps. I'm talking building apps for your mobile devices, your iPhone, your Android, and any other kind of mobile device that exists. I don't know. Maybe people use the KaiOS, which is almost like the Java phone we used to use in those days, but it just is more like a smart feature phone because those Java phone we use in those days, I think they're called feature phones. So build mobile apps for different platforms. So if you're the kind of person that enjoy mobile apps and you want to bring idea to life on mobile, or maybe even on tablets, I'm talking your iPads, your phones that you basically your Samsung Fold, your Galaxy Flip, and all sorts. If you also even enjoy bringing idea to life on wearable devices, I'm talking like a smartwatch and stuff like that, then the mobile engineering path is a great one for you. Another path I'm going to talk about is the cloud and DevOps. These are the engineers that you never even see at all, but they are super vital in the entire flow of software delivery to end users. These are engineers that make sure that the system actually runs properly, it stays online, it runs smoothly. They make sure that whenever the system gets even traffic that is so crazy that they didn't even exactly expect, they make sure that this system is there to scale and not exactly fall down or just die at any point in time due to this kind of resource consumption that is coming from users that are really binging it. These are the people that handle this stuff. So if you're the kind of person that likes automation, you like infrastructure, and you like thinking about big picture, like you like thinking the big picture about reality, this is definitely a path for you. Now, the last part I'm going to talk about, like I said, of many, is the data, AI, and machine learning, right? This is where engineering actually meets intelligence. I mean, this is the day that we are in these days. You just wake up in the morning and just be like, yo, AI, baby. So if you're the kind of person that actually like numbers, you like patterns, you like predictions, you like the idea of computer learning from data, so like be able to predict things, then definitely this landscape is growing so fast and it's even needing a lot of people in it. I mean, if with who was like the first speaker is definitely in this space. So if this is something that interests you, this is actually a path that you're going to really thrive in, right? So you see, software engineering is huge. Think of it like a city with many neighborhoods, which each of this path that I said has one of the many neighborhoods. Each of them has their own vibe, they have their specific tools that you use, and they have their specific style of problem solving. And you don't need to know. The truth is, you also don't need to know which one is yours right away. Exploration is just like a path of the journey, right? When we say exploration, you start from a certain place and go all the way up. And typically, you'd see people start from the front end side, then they go to the back end, either because front end actually chased them to the back end, or they just progress to the back end and they go mobile, some go cloud, and then data, machine learning, and all sorts. If you can confirm, if you can remember, if you confirms, and even Benga, who was the last speaker, also said the same thing that front end developers they always end up going to the front end bracket because CSS pursued them. That is crazy. And even if you confirmed that she was like on the front software engineering part, which basically means like the front end or the back end area, maybe cloud or DevOps, before moving actually into machine learning. And you wouldn't exactly see a lot of people just go directly into machine learning. People do that, but there is not a lot of them, right? So, like I said, you don't need to know which one is yours right now. Exploration is just part of the journey. Now that you have established that there are different parts in software engineering, I want us to take a look at some places in software engineering, some places that software engineers can actually work. Let me just hydrate just a little bit. Apologies for that. That's a big bottle of water. So, like I said, now that we've established that there are different parts in software engineering, I want us to take a look at some places that software engineers actually work. One of the places that software engineers actually work is in a tech company. Tech companies, these are our known and established companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Netflix, Meta, or if well known to you like Facebook, OpenAI, established company that we know, right? This kind of company, they offer software engineering an environment with more structure, a strong engineering culture. They offer mentorship and some good growth, right? This kind of places for software engineer and tech companies is like the dream for most software engineers. It's the dream for the majority, right? So another place a software engineer actually works is at startups. Startups are also companies. They're also tech companies. Yes, maybe not tech, but we are mostly always tech companies. They just fall in the category of companies that are newly established. They are more focused on developing a unique product, and they always aim for like rapid growth. They just want to grow fast as they like solve their specific problems with innovative solutions. This kind of companies, they offer engineers a fast-paced working environment. Hands-on. Everybody's hand is always on deck. You're definitely going to wear many hats. You will touch different parts. You will do front end, you will do back end, you're going to do DevOps. Like you will just get a little bit of this, a little bit of that in different places because everybody just has to, like really work to push a certain product fast because it's mostly a small team. They don't exactly have all the budgets that the tech companies have. They don't also have like, that stability, that comfort that these people have. So you're going to wear many hats, do a lot of stuff. And it's an environment that is great for, learning real quickly and doing everything that helps you grow. Another place you can find a software engineer is at tech consulting agencies. These are companies that just focuses fully on creating solutions for other companies with technology, right? They are like gone for hire, but in terms of like, solutions for hire, that's what they are. That is just what they are. They're nothing else. They offer you an environment where you get to work with different clients because you work on projects for their different clients. And these different clients can actually be other tech companies. I'm talking companies in the likes of, Google, Microsoft, and the likes. It could also be startups, which are these other companies that another software engineer can actually also work. You also work with different you also work on different projects. You get the ability to work on, you get the what do you call it, the luxury of working on different projects, right? This is what consulting agencies are like. And then another place environment you'd find a software engineer work is in freelancing. This is the one-man band style where you basically just use your skill in creating solutions for others. This could be tech companies. You could like work freelance with tech companies. You could work freelance for startups. You could work freelance for consulting agencies. You can even work freelance for uh, clients to consulting agencies, which are other companies and maybe even individuals, right? At this point, you are just independent. You pick the projects that you can work on by yourself. You build your reputation on your own, and you grow at your own pace, right? And another place you can find software engineers is in open source. Now, this is some part that is actually exciting to me because this is the part where you just get into the wild and you freely contribute to open source, open software, right, that are making impact in the world. This literally like gives you access to global collaborations. You work on real world projects that are not exactly your own. You just work on real world projects. You work on real world projects, like I said, and opportunities that you get without exactly needing a permission, or you don't exactly even need a job title to do all of this, right? In fact, one of the fastest ways to learn, to build confidence, and to get real experience before you get your first job, if you're a software engineer, is in open source, right? So how about we just go on and talk about that word for a moment, right? So let's just talk open source. So in just a little bit, we're going to answer some questions, simple questions. I think just 3 or 4 of them, and that will help us just get an idea what the open source word or what open source actually offers. So first question is, what is open source? Open source basically is a software. Because open source is coined out from the word open source software. So this is software that anyone can use, you can see, you can modify, you can improve on it. Anybody can do that, and they are built in public by communities, not behind closed doors. So it means that this kind of software, their source, like the thing that stands them, which in this case is their source codes, is actually open for everybody to see, to use anyhow they see fit, right? So why does open source matter? That's the second question I want us to answer. So open source that you see, it actually powers most of the world's technology, and it enables innovation in such a way that it lets people build on other people's work, and it also lets people build with other people's work. Now, an example of an open source software can be Linux. Linux is an open source operating system, and it's on top of Linux that another operating system called Ubuntu and Fedora are built on. When I say an operating system, these are equivalents of your Windows operating system that runs on most of our computers, right? It's just a sad news that most people don't usually just go on and use this open source operating system. It's mostly techies that do that. But look at me, that I people talking. It's not like I use Linux myself. I'm also using the proprietary open source, the proprietary ones, that's Windows and the likes, right? So an example of another open source software is Android, actually. The Android operating system is another open source software. And it's on top of the Android operating system that Samsung's One UI, if you use a Samsung phone, it's built on top of Android, and that's why you got your phone an Android phone. If you use a Xiaomi phone, the Mi UI is built on top of it, right? Another example of open source software is the Chromium project. The Chromium project is the thing that powers most of our major browsers that you know. I'm talking Chrome, I'm talking your Microsoft Edge, I'm talking your Samsung browser, I'm talking your Opera browser. These are browsers that are powered by open source. And another example of open source projects are your tools like WordPress, React, Vue.js, the JavaScript language, the PHP programming language, the C++ programming language. These are other open source projects that people use to build other works. People use to build other tools. React is built with JavaScript. One of these operating system actually here is built with C++. So it's just a combo of different things, right? So another question I want to do in the last one, I don't know exactly, is how does open source benefit you as a beginner? So as a beginner, you get the opportunity to work on real world projects that makes impact in the world. You get the opportunity to collaborate with engineers from top companies around the world, engineers who works in the places that you would like to work. I'm talking projects that are owned by Google. For example, the Android project is owned by Google. People from Google are contributing to that project. Now, if you get an opportunity to also contribute and work on that project, that means you're collaborating with these people on this project. And you gain experience to solve real world problems when you do open source. You also have the ability to, like learn real faster because you're exposed to real problems, you're making real collaboration, and you're getting feedback, real feedback from these engineers that works in these kind of places that you would like to work. You're getting feedback from them, and that is definitely helping you accelerate your learning. It's also an opportunity for you to, like gain mentorship, for you to, like expand your network. You know somebody that works at Google and you work with them. It's not like you just know them. You know someone that works at Google. You've worked with them on projects. They've seen how well you can work. This is a network for you, a good one. This kind of person can just maybe give you reference if you wish to work at Google at any point in time. That's one of the things that you can get as a beginner working with open source. So I'm just going to talk about my own case study in just like 3 frames. In 2023, I started contributing to open source. I met this person, his name is Brian, who will become, I met this person, yes, who will end up becoming my mentor. Actually, Brian right now is my mentor. I met him in Oscar Fest in June 2023. It was with him I started contributing to open source. I started contributing to a project of his. Then 2 months later, I got an email from Brian, who also is my second mentor. Those are like the two real mentors I have. Every other mentor I've got are like shadow mentors, right? So Brian, Gregor reached out to me, just sent me an email, said Brian actually recommended me to him to work on a certain project. This felt like a break for me. In fact, it's like my big break, I would say. This was a job for me. And fast forward till today, I got the opportunity to work on that project with Brian and Gregor. Yes, both of them actually. And I got that same opportunity to present that project that I worked on the stage at Oscar Fest that happened this year, which was my first ever time I would ever step on stage to give a talk or anything that looks like that. And it was really great for me. I built, like this project called Jargons the Dev. I'm also currently like a maintainer on this project called Semantic Release, which has like over 2 million downloads every week. And I've also been featured alongside my project Jargons the Dev on the keynote stage at GitHub Universe in San Francisco just some weeks ago. This is just some beautiful stuff that has happened to me since I discovered open source. And yes, the Oscar Fest where I met Brian in 2023, he was also around in 2025 where I presented the project that I worked on with him and Gregor. And trust me, we had to recreate that picture that we took 2 years ago. And it was just some beautiful stuff, right? So I tell you for free that open source, open source is it. It's like the key that opens doors. It shines light on your work, making it visible to the entire world. Companies, recruiters, other engineers, people just discover you through your contribution. It helps you build reputation, makes it easy for you to get mentorship. It gives you limitless access to like opportunities, job opportunities at that too, and also gives you the opportunity to like collaborate globally with other engineers and other people across the world. One more second. So now that we've said all these things that we said, you're seeing now open source work and why it's such a powerful entry to software engineering. The next big question is the software engineering itself. Where do you begin? How do you go from interest to actually building skill, contributing, and eventually growing into a strong software engineer? Let's break this down into practical steps that you can start following today. First thing is you basically just need to start with fundamentals. Fundamentals is just learn basic programming concepts like variables, loops, functions, and data structure. These are just like some jargons. They're pretty simple, right? You get to know them very easily when you start. You also want to learn technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Even if you're not exactly a front-end engineer, like Agbinga already said then, front-end engineer is like the place where everybody starts. And at the same time, front-end engineer is not exactly just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's mostly just where people typically start. And the reason why this is the case is because it just gives you like a experience, like an idea of what it feels like writing code, right? You also want to learn how the web works, right? You also want to understand how different part of the web connects together. Like I said, systemic thinking, you need that as a software engineer, right? You want to understand how code is turned into working products. So the key message here is you don't just rush to frameworks because there are some kind of frameworks that puts all of these things together for you to be able to do one certain thing, right? So don't just learn frameworks, get the basics right first. So you also want to learn by building small projects. When I say learn by building, it means as you learn, you want to build small stuff. Because in the end, your brain learns faster by actually doing stuff. You don't just watch tutorial or just do your coursework. So you want to build things like maybe a simple calculator or maybe a to-do list. You want to build like maybe a weather app. Yeah, call it that. Yeah, exactly. And maybe you want to build like a landing page. The key here is just the key message here is that some projects actually combine the compound into fine-tuning your skill, and that you can actually transfer into building small into other bigger stuff. So another step is you want to learn Git and GitHub, right? So Git and GitHub is actually the tools and the platform, or should I call it like the software that are actually around how the entire world collaborates on software. It's required on most jobs. It's also required if you're doing open source, definitely. And it teaches you, like it's used for version control, and it teaches you that definitely. And it also, like places you in the forefront of working in teams. So the key message here is that knowing Git is actually more valuable than knowing plenty frameworks. So another thing you want to do is you want to use open source as a practice ground. That's what open source is like, right? Just if you're owning this skill, you want to try to get into open source, do tiny things around. It may even be overwhelming to get started, but you can actually just fix a little bit of typo in the documentation of a certain project. You can work on maybe project issues. You can work on tasks in open source that has like the good first issue label. You can just join communities. You can just follow what the community is doing in open source project and just doing stuff around it. Just use it as a practice ground, right? So the key message here is you want to use open source because it's like the easiest way to get real world experience, even when you do not have a job. Open source is what you want to use. Another thing you want to do is you want to follow a structured learning path. So structured learning path is you do front end, you do back end, you do mobile engineering, or you do cloud, right? You don't want to do a certain single thing in front end and then fly to go do a certain thing in mobile engineering and then fly to cloud and then come all the way back to back end. No, follow a structured learning. Learn front end, learn the fundamentals of front end, then come to back end, learn the fundamentals of back end and everything you need to, like build back end systems. Come to mobile engineering if you want, learn stuff there to a T. Come to cloud if you want, learn stuff there to a T, right? If you have a roadmap and you have this structured learning path, it actually keeps you from feeling lost. Now, the next step thing that you want to also do again is you want to build serious projects. I heard Binga say that you want to build serious project. That is good because this is a project that tests your strength. It wants to like really know whether you can actually build stuff. This is the part because at some point, every beginner needs one or two or three projects that proves that they can actually take an idea from start to finish. It's not just building what they build in tutorials, which are mostly going to be those to do app, weather app, a calculator, and a basic landing page. Like I said, you want to make sure that you're building apps that are not from tutorials and they're not exactly cloned apps. You want to build a real and meaningful project. It can be tiny, but if it makes sense to you, you want to build that. So the other thing you want to do is you want to build yourself a clean portfolio, which is basically like a clean website, a personal website. Now this website should have like a little bit about you. It should also show like a few numbers of projects that you built, which in this case would be those serious projects that we talked about. You want to showcase them on the website. You also want to link to everywhere people that are looking at your website would see this code that actually stands this project, which in this case is your GitHub accounts, a link to the repository that holds those projects, right? You maybe sometimes also want to highlight your open source contribution like I've done here, where I say you should come and like see my open source activities. You might want to do that. So at this point, you want to, like show your thinking. You don't just want to write your code and keep them somewhere or put your Git or your project somewhere. You want to showcase them in a certain forefront where people are able to, like really discover and see you clearly, right? One of the other things again is you want to make sure that you join communities. Community. I said then that software engineering is collaboration. You don't want to do things in isolation. Do not do things in isolation. This is super important, right? Because if you join community, you get access to support, you get access to mentorship, you get access to collaboration, like I said. You also get exposure to real conversation of what's happening in tech within the bubble, like what's really the case. Communities actually they actually accelerate your growth 10x, right? So where can you find this community? You can find them on in open source. If you go to tech events, these are communities. You can go to meetups. You want to do this too. Go to tech events, go to meetups and stuff. These are communities that you can join. From this place, they can expose you to like maybe a Discord group or maybe a WhatsApp group or maybe even a Twitter or call it X or maybe a LinkedIn cycle or group or stuff like that. That just helps you. One of the other things you want to do is you want to stay consistent as you learn. Set yourself weekly goals, right? Build one tiny project per week. As you learn, like I said, just build a certain project. Just keep showing up. You want to make sure that you keep showing up, even when the going feels kind of tough, right? You can even actually like start a social posting streak where you join challenges that pushes you to stay consistent, to as you learn, you post whatever it is that you learned today on social media, with the like maybe the 100 days of coding challenge and stuff like that, things that actually just keeps you going because consistency, you see, it beats talent every day, right? So I said a lot of things, and at the end of the day, software engineer isn't about code. It's about seeing a problem, imagining a better way to solve them, and having the courage to build something that doesn't exactly exist before. So whether your path takes you into front end or it takes you into back end or mobile engineering or cloud and DevOps, or maybe it takes you into AI, or maybe it even gives you the opportunity to, like try accelerate yourself with open source. The real journey is discovering what you actually enjoy, what you are very, very curious about, and what you are willing to keep learning. You don't need to know everything today. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to start with one small project, one contribution, one line of code. And from there, everything else you see, it becomes possible. So if there's one thing I hope you take away from this session, it's my message to you. I'm a software engineer. And my message to you as a potential software engineer is that you actually belong in this industry. Your idea matters, and you can build things that seriously make a difference. And I also want to let you know that your journey doesn't exactly start after the stock. It starts now. Thank you very much. Now, my name is Alabodi Lawal-Shittabey. If you have any question, you can ask me now. I don't know whether that's a thing that we're doing, right? But you can find me on all social media. The same username, the same name everywhere, Twitter or X, LinkedIn, where it needs to use the username, Instagram, Facebook. Just shoot me a DM, ask me a question. I did for you. We're all a bunch of star boys and star girls. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Olabode. That was such a very, very in-depth section, especially the way you broke down it open source. I totally agree with you with the open source because I also contribute to open source, and I can tell you